Good morning, my beautiful friends. I didn't know what I wanted to do my chat about today, so I was like, I'll pick a rune, and I wanted to talk about friendship, but I was like the first video I made, it went off the rails, and I didn't know what I was talking about, and didn't know the point I was trying to make. So I was like, let me sit with my runes and like let me pick one and ask spirit. What should I talk about today? And it was the Humanity Stone is what I pulled, Mannaz, which is friendship, humanity, cooperation, help, things like that. And I don't know what it is I want to say about friendship other than let's all be a good friend to somebody, and let's all cherish the friendships we have. So, I grew up in a very working class neighborhood of steel workers, and there weren't any real other girls in the neighborhood. There were two, and they just had horrible lives. The two girls that grew up near me, um, both had abusive fathers, and just awful. And I had a good dad. Like I had a really good dad. He worked swing shift, so he was never like really around. A swing shift is like this week you work 3 to 11, and the next week you work 11 to 7, and then you work 7 to 3. So he had a changing schedule all the time, and like we never went on vacations. We never had extra money. My mom uh, worked when I was a child, but like a little child, but then, I think by the time I was 3, she stopped working outside the home. So, but they didn't do PTA. I wasn't in any like clubs or anything like that. And we were pretty feral. The kids in my neighborhood, we were pretty feral. So, I had one girlfriend, growing up. Our last names happened to start with the same 2 letters, and she was really quiet. And, and we were just kind of like outcasts in the school, so like we became friends, and we remain friends today. We have been friends for 48 years. We've been friends since we're 4, and I'm 52. It's like a math problem. And then my other friend that I had, my real close friend, I met her in band in high school, and we've been friends since high school. So, I have very, very close personal friendships. And I'm very friendly, so I have a lot of friends that are acquaintances that I love to spend time with, but I'm a little bit guarded about the my personal space. So I do a lot of things in the community. I volunteer and I have a lot of hobbies and I do a lot of things. And I'm so blessed to have so many friendships through those many, many things. But when it comes to my personal space, aside from letting the hiker stay in the yard, like I don't have parties. I don't really go to parties. I'm not a bar person. I play at bars, with my band and stuff like that. But I've never been a, go out to the club kind of person. And I think my students always kind of found that kind of funny because given my personality, you'd think that I'd be into all that, but I'm really not. I like to, cuddle up with a book and my cat and read and journal. Like I'm kind of nerdy that way. Um, but I was thinking about friendship because of my friend Mary who passed away, and she had this great group of friends that she had grown up with and did sports with and was in the band with, and they would have these great parties. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like I'm a little bit jealous because I never had that because I never had that group of friends. Like the two friends that I have didn't really get along, so I did things separately with them. Um, but I was thinking about what friendship means, and over the past 2 weeks or so, I just different things have happened. One is that my father passed away quite a few years ago now, and my mother quite a few years before that. But my stepmother is now in a facility, so her family is selling her house. And her cousin called and said, I had been out to get things that belonged to the family, but she had called and said, we found all these pictures, you might want to go through them. And what complicates things is that her first husband had the same name as my dad, very close to my dad's name is Paul Ritter. Her first husband was Paul Riffle, and they looked a little bit alike. So in the pictures, like it's hard to tell whose family is whose. But the person cleaning out her house really did a pretty good job of sort of separating and sorting. But we had like the house was being closed on today, and this was Tuesday, so I had to like drop everything and go an hour to where they live and go through stuff. So, we're driving along and I'm talking to my dad and I'm like, Dad, If there's anything that you absolutely need me to see, to bring home, that you need me to bring home, that you need me to see, you got to put it out there, you know. And I'm talking to my whole family, and I'm like, listen, if there's things I need, you need to, you need to show me. So we pull up, and out on the, and for the trash, I guess not the trash, but like, you know how you put stuff in front of your house so people can take it for free, was a caned chair that my dad had caned. And he did hand caning, which is really hard. And he had taken a class years ago, and then he learned how to do it. My father had the patience of a saint. And I would ask him, like, Dad, you should show me how to do this. And he'd be like, you are not patient enough for this. The man knew me. I'm not patient enough. So he had hand caned this chair, and I had looked for this chair when we had been out, but I don't know. I thought they gave it away. I couldn't find it. But there it was, you know, waiting for me. So I'm like, put that in the Jeep. So, as we're looking through pictures, there were a lot of pictures of her first husband and her family and stuff, but there were some things that belonged to our family. And among them was the funeral book for my brother Timmy. Now, Timmy died in 1970 at the age of 8. He drowned in a public swimming pool. He hit his head on a sliding board. The kids told the lifeguard, and the lifeguard didn't believe them. And so he drowned. And that was before I was born, and is probably the reason I was born. And so I didn't know that this book existed. I never saw it. I never saw it in the house that I grew up in, and my husband and I cleaned that out when my parents got divorced. So I don't know when my dad took it or how he had it, but he had that book, and he had my brother's baby book. By the time they got to me, they were like done with baby books, so I don't have one, but that I know of. But you know, I was like, wow, like I had no idea this existed. But when I was looking through it, and I couldn't read it because I would have just burst out in tears. But there were letters in there that my mother had saved of the people who wrote to her, and you know, and the notes that people left for her, and she had all the paper clippings from the newspaper, from the drowning and stuff, and I thought, wow, you know, in a time like that, I mean, my brother Paul was an infant. He was 6 months old when my brother died. My other brother was maybe 10. My oldest brother was 10, and then Timmy was 8, and then Paul was 6 months old. And, you know, I mean, just imagine, like, imagine the grief that comes with losing a child. I can't even imagine. And my mother was tough. Like, my mother was a tough person. So, and I didn't know about Timmy until I was like 12. Like, I didn't know until I was older. And what was so strange was that I was always a swimmer. Always. So even as like a little girl, I love water. I love being near water. I love being in water. When I was I think you had to be 9 years old. I was a junior Red Cross swim instructor with the swim instructor at the town pool, you know. And it was like, I was on the swim team, and like my mother never came to my meets or anything, but she also didn't go to my brother's basketball games, and like nobody ever came to like stuff like it isn't like now where parents go to everything and you get a medal for everything. Like my parents never came to anything. So it never clicked with me. But when I was a little bit older and I started diving, and my father pulled me aside and was like, this, you know, this is why, you know, that you have a brother. And I used to go with her to, when my grandmother died, I used to go to my brother's grave, and I would sit there and I'd talk to him. And I had an imaginary friend when I was little, and I swear it was him. And, you know, now that I'm sort of, you know, in the spiritual realm, I think I even maybe carry a part of him with me. He was a bit of a daredevil. I can be that way. But I love water, and I love being in water, and you know, diving is so specific, and the risk of hitting your head on something was so great. But I, you know, never that never kept me from it. So but I was thinking about the friends my mom had, because my mom had one really, really good friend, who's still with us, and that woman and her husband saved my mother's life when she was married to her first husband. My mom's first husband knocked her around quite a bit, and they were her neighbors, and they helped her um, lock him out and get divorced, and that back then was a big deal. And even my mother's parents wouldn't help her. They said, you made this mess, you lay in it, and there's no way out. And my mom had to do it all by herself as a waitress. So my mom was tough, 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 tough as nails, and strong. Boy, she was always very strong, and she would march forward. But in looking back, she had friends. She liked to talk on the phone. I think I don't like to talk on the phone at all. So I tell people, like in my hiking group and stuff, I'm like, do not call me. You can text me and I'll give you information. I'm an in-person person. Like, you want to hang out, I will hang out with you. We can play Scrabble, we can play cards, we can, I'm not a big bar person. I'm not a party person. My students always think that's funny because they think with my personality that I'm a party person, but I'm actually really not. And I mean, I certainly go to a lot of bars to play pipes, but I don't hang out at bars. I'm more of a like a diner person. Like, let's go have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So you know, I was just thinking, like, what it's like to be a good friend and what it's like to have good friends. And I am so blessed by all of the great people that have come and gone in my life. Some friends stay for just a little bit, and some that you get to keep for a long time. And sometimes it doesn't work out, right? Like, sometimes you get in a community, it could be like Red Cross or, my hiking group or whatever, and people kind of come and go. But sometimes people aren't who they seem to be, and you think, oh, I really have this connection with this person, and then all of a sudden it's like, and where to go, like fizzled out. A lot of that kind of stuff I think is rooted in sand. So, when we're building friendships and relationships of whatever kind, whether they're romantic or not, really rooting friendship in, and giving it, water and light and love and sunshine, so that, the friendship blossoms into something great. And I think that's really, really important. And, and recognizing that you can be nice to a lot of people, but you don't have to be like best friends with everybody, right? I always say there's like my inner circle, the people who I would walk through fire naked for. And then there's, like the outer circle of people who I would absolutely help, but I wouldn't, necessarily walk through fire for. There's different kinds of levels of friendship, but being kind to everybody is really the mission, right? You don't have to be best friends with everybody, but being kind and being gentle and being generous when you can. And that doesn't mean with money, that means with love and kindness. Those are the things that help bring light into the world, because there's so much darkness. There's a YouTuber, well, she wasn't a YouTuber. She was part of an animal group that I like to follow that rescued a ton of animals, and unfortunately, she took her own life because she was bullied on social media, and that's horrible. Like bullies suck. They suck in every reality, and she couldn't see the love that people had for her because that hate came through. So we all have to choose. What are we going to be? Are we going to be lovers? Are we going to be haters? Even in the online community, I used to be part of a little group of people, and then, I don't know what happened, but, like hate snuck its way through, and then before you knew it, it was like poof. And then, people scattered like the wind because some people just didn't want to get involved, which I don't blame them because I don't want to be involved either. And some people just turned nasty, and it wasn't expected. It wasn't what I thought those people would be like. But, just like look over, the relationships you have, make sure they're grounded in something good, in nice, rich, vibrant soil, and that they're not just, rooted in sand. And then, look for the positive. And when life is tough, when you lose a son, when you lose your job, when turn to the people that are there for you. And then in turn, when they're going through something, be a person that you can that they can come to when they need something, and they need support. And just be a good friend. Like, that's a way we bring light and love into the world. It's just being a good friend. So today's Humanity Stone: be a good friend. I am wishing you all the best in light and love. Be well. Take care. Bye bye.